And as we know, then after his hospitalization from the 4th of July, July 4th, 2021, lasting 10 days for surgery at the Agostino Gemelli Polyclinic, Pope Francis, on 14 February 2025, returned to the same hospital for a 38-day stay due to bilateral pneumonia. And back in the Vatican, he spent his final weeks at Casa Santa Marta, dedicating himself to the end with the same passion to his patron ministry. Though not fully recovered, we saw him on Easter Sunday, on April 20th, 2025. For one last time, he appeared on the loggia of St. Peter's Basilica to impart the solemn Urbi et Orbi blessing. And then he drove around on the papal mobile and greeted the faithful who had gathered at St. Peter's. And then he left us the following morning. We see these beautiful images coming live from the Basilica, the cardinals and the bishops, beginning the procession which would lead us to the beginning of this solemn celebration of the Eucharist.
The D that was placed in Pope Francis's coffin, as we await the beginning of this Requiem Mass, recalls that his doctrinal magisterium was extremely rich. It recalls that he often offered a witness to a sober and humble lifestyle, founded on missionary openness, apostolic courage and mercy, and attentive to avoiding the pitfalls of self-referentiality and spiritual worldliness of the Church. Pope Francis, we know, set out his apostolic program for his papacy that lasted just over 12 years, with his apostolic exhortation Evangelii Gaudium in November 2013, and he released 4 encyclicals through the year, such as Lumen Fidei in 2013, Laudato Si in May of 2015, which became the first papal encyclical dedicated to ecology and on care for our common home. Later, in October of 2020, the Pope released his encyclical Fratelli Tutti on human fraternity and social friendship. And then, just last year, in October 2024, he released Dilexit Nos on devotion to the Most Sacred Heart of Jesus. The Holy Father also famously was elected in 2013 and the cardinals recognized the need to begin reform of the Roman Curia, the governing body of the Church, the central governing body that assists the bishops throughout the world in their ministry and seeks to help the Church be united. And he did that famously through reorganizing the Roman Curia and setting this reorganization, to which he was asked by the cardinals, into a solid document with the Apostolic Constitution Predicate Evangelium, Preach the Gospel, which was his focus. And now we see, and still in the silence of a quiet St. Peter's Basilica and St. Peter's Square, the coffin of Pope Francis has been raised upon the shoulders of the pallbearers to bring the late Pope Francis, his mortal remains, to the steps of St. Peter's Basilica.
And we then want to prepare ourselves and solemnly participate in this very moving celebration. We will join the procession very symbolically with the casket carrying the remains of Pope Francis. We participate as pilgrims of hope a theme which was very particular and important to Pope Francis. And then we journey forward as people of hope, knowing, as Pope Francis taught and preached, that death is not the end. We remember in one of his audiences in November 27, 2013, he says our life is a journey. He said if we look at the most painful moments of our lives, when we have lost a loved one, our parents, a brother, a sister, a spouse, a child, a friend, we realize that even amid the tragedy of loss, even when torn by separation, the conviction arises in the heart that everything cannot be over, that the good given and received has not been pointless. There is a powerful instinct within us which tells us that our lives do not end with death. The thirst for life found its true and reliable answer in the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Jesus' resurrection does not only give us the certainty of life after death, it also illumines the very mystery of the death of each one of us. And that's our prayer today for Pope Francis, as we join silently the procession towards St. Peter's Square.